Absolutely, mate. Let's talk about a few of the events and what's coming up in Australian boxing. We saw Tszyu versus Bakhram Murtazaliev last weekend. Give us your thoughts. I've heard some of them yesterday, but the public wants to hear what you've got to say about the fight, the result, and what went down in Orlando last week.
In the boxing ring, you've got a tenth of a second to make a decision. You move an inch one way and the punch misses you, an inch the other way, it hits you on the chin and knocks you out. That's the high pressure stakes in a boxing ring. Tim got caught, fighters get caught. Better fighters than Tim have got caught. You know, Roberto Duran, fighters that could never got hurt, get caught. And only one time he ever got stopped in that fight with Tommy Hearn. So Tim just was a little bit high, a little bit aggressive, but geez, it's a fine line between wanting to win and being aggressive and wanting to control the fight and going to war and getting caught. You know, Tim hits him with another couple of shots and it could have gone the other way. So just say hats off to Tim with the heart that he showed in that fight, and too much heart, you know, getting hit a little bit too much. You don't see fights be allowed to go on that much these days, but that was an old school fight and I think it was okay that it went on. But he'll learn and he'll come back bigger and better, because one thing about Tim, mate, he's got a ton of guts and he's a real tough, disciplined fighter. So he'll learn from it, and I'm sure he'll be back better.
How hard is that road back for him, Angelo? We know that he's probably going to have to take a couple fights now. Not sure if he'll end up back in Australia. There's been talk about Michael Zarafa, but I'm not sure that will actually take place. But for him, maybe some undercard fights on some big cards to make sure he gets that exposure once again. Maybe a change in training and style. I know you've talked about some of the technical aspects that he might fix up. So how do you see that moving forward now?
Yeah, there are a couple of technical aspects that he'll have to learn from now, but he's got away with it up until now. You know, he boxes quite high and pulls back, doesn't slip much, doesn't roll much, doesn't create many angles. I think he's realised now that he'll have to learn to add those into his arsenal, and his defensive boxing will have to be a little bit better. And you don't get to learn the holes until you fight the best. Now he's found out that he has got some holes, he'll go away and he'll work on them. The road back's a very interesting thing. A lot of people are writing him off. I think if you are a real boxer and you really believe in yourself, that the loss can make you a better fighter. I know that the loss of the Maloneys has made them better fighters today, and I tell them all the time. I get surprised with them and I say, you are a better fighter today than you ever have been. And I think Tim can come back like that. He'll sharpen up his defence. He'll work about his head movement. He'll think about how he goes in and how he's going to mix it, and he'll rebound a much better fighter.
Outstanding, mate. Thank you very much for those comments on Tszyu Murtazaliev. You've just given me the prompter to a question I wanted to ask you about the Maloney boys. I'm going to ask Tony Tolge a little bit later on as well about what he's got in store for them. But what's happening with Andrew and Jason coming up soon?
Yeah, well, Tony's working really hard on a couple of fights, and he can tell you more about that. But every day we're trying to fight them. It's hard when you've got good fighters. If you haven't got the backing power of No Limits, and going back to what you said, No Limits is such a good promoter, they'll work out how to bring Tim back very quickly and do it right. I wish we had those guys behind us as well here, that we could get the boys back in the ring even quicker. So that's all we need, mate, just a little opportunity.
Fantastic, mate. Inoue and Goodman, official yesterday, Angelo. He's going to head over there Christmas Eve to fight the Monster. Uphill task is what I would think. However, as we know in boxing, anything's possible. One punch can change the course of history, let alone any fight. What do you make of Goodman's chances, noting that this is an outstanding opportunity and well-deserved? But I tell you what, of all the guys remaining left in world boxing, that are undisputed and that are the champions, this is probably the toughest test in his backyard as well. He's got it all to do.
He's got it all to do, mate, and Peter Matreski's manager's done a magic job, and Joel Keegan, a very good trainer, a really underrated trainer. I've known him for a lot of years and I really respect him as a person and a trainer, and they believe they can win it, and they're going over there to win it. And if anyone can upset him, it possibly could be the style of Sammy Goodman, because he's a really awkward boxer, a really good boxer. He's not easy to hit. It won't be a pretty fight, but it might be an effective fight. So he's got every chance there to cause an upset if he's still there at the end.
You and Tony have a bit of experience in Japan. I don't think maybe culturally that Inoue and his camp are the type to take it lightly or look a step past Sam Goodman. Is that fair to say? They'll be fully focused on making sure they beat him and then press on with what's next after that, because that could create the door open, obviously, for Sammy to pull off an upset.
Yeah, I don't think they'll take him lightly. but they won't probably take him as hard as they could. So that could leave a little bit of a gap. They're so professional, and he's such an incredible athlete, an incredible fighter. The one thing that Jason Maloney said about Inoue, he said he had very good power. He said, but his closing speed of his footwork, how he could get away and all of a sudden just be on you, was the most surprising thing that he found with Inoue. And Sammy's got great footwork and great angles, and they'll have a plan, and they'll go in it believing and trying to win that fight. So when you got that, mate, it's a 2-horse race. You've got a chance.
Outstanding. Jai Opetaia, is he the best cruiserweight we've ever seen almost in the world? He's absolutely brilliant the way he fights. He fights more like a middleweight almost, or a super middleweight. His conditioning with Mark Matthews seems to be second to none now. He almost looks like a crossfitter / marathon runner. He can go forever. What does the future hold for him, and how good can he be?
I'd like to. So I thought Jai was going to go up to the heavyweights. I reckon he'd give Usyk and those guys a good run. The best cruiserweight ever, I'd have to go back and have a look at some cruiserweights. And it's hard to judge because you need dancing partners, and there's not a lot of outstanding cruiserweights around in that division. But, mate, he's just a great fighter. I've known him since a 10, 12-year-old kid. He trained in Mark Pagero's gym together with us. He was beating up the 16-year-olds there. I always knew he'd be a champion. I got such admiration for him and his dad for how they've done this. And Mick Francis, I'm so happy for Mick. He's put so much into boxing, and that it pays back, because we do the same, and people don't see how hard you do things and how much you give. So hats off to all of them. Hell of a fighter. I'd like to see him at heavyweight in the big money, and I reckon he can beat any heavyweight out there as well.
So maybe he unifies first, Angelo, gets the undisputed. That's if the guys even step up and want to take him on. They're kind of dodging a little bit. But then after that, it'll be almost a heavyweight division that won't have the likes of the sort of names that have graced the sport the last 5 years. You'd expect maybe Usyk, Fury, Joshua to be maybe gone by then, so it could open up the door for a Dubois or something like that for him as a first fight.
I'd head straight for the money, mate. I'd get him up there quick. I reckon he'll beat all the blokes that he'd have to beat. And if they were still around, he'll beat them too. He's just a hell of a talent and good people.
Outstanding, mate. I'd like to ask you about Liam Paro. He's got his world title defence coming up in December. Angelo's done a great job with Liam and getting him to this point. What do you make of the fact, though, that sort of Eddie Hearn's got him defending over there in Puerto Rico again as an Australian? Does it present any problems for Liam Paro, or is he just too good?
Mate, again, firstly, I'm so happy for Ace Boxing crew and the boys, and Nath and Alfie and Ange. What a great effort to get him there. What a good kid he is. And mate, he done it once, he'll do it again. He was a big underdog against the supposedly big hitter. Didn't let him into the fight, mate. He knows how to control the fight. He's good, he's fast, he's awkward, he's got fantastic skills. I think he'll go over there and give this bloke another lesson.
Brilliant, mate. Last question, please, for you, Angelo. The state of Australian boxing at the moment, is this the greatest era we've ever had in terms of pure boxing talent and purely the amount of guys we have that are at world level at the moment?
I can't really answer that question off the bat. I'd have to think about it, but it's in a good position. I'd just like to see more unity and more fighters working together, and it'd be great if No Limit could put on blokes like Opetaia and Paro and the Maloneys, in Australia as well. What they've done to the zoo's been incredible. I'd love to see more of that, and more people get an opportunity in Australian boxing. And if TV could get behind them a little bit more, give them a little bit more money and a bit of help, I think it could really be the biggest that Australian boxing has ever been.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Angelo. We'll talk to you very soon, and good luck with Runchi tomorrow night.
Thank you, mate. Don't miss that one.